I wanted to address DAWs really quick. I get a lot of, I hear some things, and sometimes I'll get looking around at different DAWs. Things are coming out in different DAWs and new additions to their DAWs and add-ons and things like that. I think you can get really lost in that. I use Studio One, and I've been really happy with it. The layout on it, the mix and editing windows on it, when I go to mix and edit, that they do a pretty good job. All the other aspects that the DAW does do seem to do a really good job in the layout on it. But to address which DAW is best, basically most things you'll get is the DAW they use that they're comfortable with. That it does the things that they like for the applications they use, the workflow that they use, and possibly just from use, they've gotten used to it like an old glove, and that's not to say that that DAW is better or worse, but the best thing to do, that if you're going to ask about which DAW is best and you've got the time, is to download the trial version of the DAW after you understand what the DAW is. Download something like Audacity that's free to really understand what the DAW can do, at first, I mean, it's a free DAW that you can mess around with plugins and really just kind of get an understanding of what a DAW does. And a lot of free information and a lot of free forums that those people are working for, some kind of a platform that it's really open source and free, that they're really into trying to use that, that simple program to the best of its ability without having to spend a lot of money. And sometimes the mother of invention is, being broke. You know what I'm saying? So, it's a really good place for you to kind of understand the DAW, before you go purchase. And mess around with it in a little while, throw some mixes in there and try to record some stuff, and you may find that it doesn't look like, Pro Tools, and it's like, well, don't look at it like that, look at it like it is what it is, and it's a learning tool. And go to the forums, and talk to them about it. Well, why does it do that? You'll get a whole lot of people in there that can answer a ton of questions, and that free group can be really tight-knit, and you're going to get a whole lot of answers about what you're doing in the DAW and questions to ask about what it does. And, and spend some time messing with it. And when you get done, you understand a little bit better about what a DAW is. Then, download the free trial versions, I mean, grab Pro Tools, dude. I mean, grab the trial version of it after you understand. Don't grab a DAW when you don't have any idea what it does. Well, I'm going to grab Pro Tools, I don't even know what it does, and it's like, I know 4 chords on a guitar and I want a DAW. I mean, understand what the DAW does, and before you even do that, do a little bit of reading about it, understand the different aspects of different DAWs if you got time. And if you're messing around with stuff, mess around in Audacity while you're investigating, and practice around, and then take a break and read about the DAWs. And when you get ready and you think you got a pretty good understanding of what the basic functions that are mostly all DAWs, then grab Pro Tools, then grab Cubase, then grab Studio One, then grab this one and grab that one. And mess around with them, play around with them, throw a mix into there, download one of the mixes. If you don't have one for yourself, grab one that are like the practice mixes, find some groups and that are like have mix contests and stuff like that, and download some mixes from them, and ones that are free, or if you have to pay a little bit, and throw them in there and play around with them once you understand what the DAW does. And use those free trial, evaluations to play around with the DAW, mixing it, recording it, mastering it, or whatever what are all aspects of what the DAW does, and try to use all different aspects of what the DAW can do in some practice mixes. And spend some time with your free trial version of Pro Tools, and your free trial version of Studio One, and your free trial version of Cubase, and your free trial version of, whatever. And go through them. I mean, spend some time going through them and understanding them, and you will really get a good understanding of, the different workflows. I mean, sometimes it can just boil down to the DAW doesn't look as appealing to you. It'll do a lot of the same things, but it just doesn't, look, and the layout of it isn't as comfortable to you as, the other DAW. And that can be a huge selling point. You'd be surprised. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, look at all aspects of what the DAW can do. What all is it able to do? I mean, when you go into, your options on the DAW, what all kind of options do you have in the DAW, and what all can it do? And that's just one thing. All the different, views and transports and audio, advanced tracks, songs, editing, files, what you can do in the files, the instruments that are in the DAW, the effects that are in the DAW, how the layout is of the editing window. So when you jump into the editing window or the mix console, how it's laid out, how it looks. Has it got a good workflow? Is it laid out good for you? And after you've gone through a few of those draws and those trials of them, you have a pretty good understanding of what all the DAW does by then anyway, and have a lot better understanding of what you're looking at. So when you throw practice mixes in there to see what it does and what those effects do and what those processors do and how they feel and how they look to you and how the layout looks to you, things like the quantizing, you're going to start quantizing something, or you can do audio bend or audio stretch, or, using the stretch tool, or, cutting tools, or multi-tools, or, and all the other aspects of what is in the DAW. I mean, all those things are important. And, once you understand the DAW by messing around Audacity and you've got an understanding, and then you've read on their site for a little bit on Pro Tools about what all their DAW does and watched a few of their videos, and then download the free version once you understand enough of what you're doing, and to do that, and then evaluate each one of them after you understand the DAW a little bit better. And then make your own choice. I love Studio One. I love the layout, and I'm really happy with it, and I've got the professional version, and I'm really happy with it. One other thing I want to address is that if you're really doing it, buy the professional version, because you get wrapped up in so much stuff. Don't get wrapped up in all that stuff, the plugins and all that other kind of crap. Buy the professional version if you really want. Buy it. Buy the professional version. You'd be happy that you did if you use it quite a bit. And that's basically, how to you evaluate it for yourself. And, and ask other people, well, what do you think, go to their forums where you're using your trial evaluation. What about that? What about that? What is that doing? And spend some time evaluating it with some of those practice mixes that you've downloaded, and ask some specific questions about, how to do that. And by the time you get done evaluating 3 or 4 DAWs, then you should have a real good understanding of which one really works for you and feels good. And you'll have a lot better understanding of how the DAW operates anyway. And you'll be good to go. The other thing is that, before you start trying to find a DAW, that if that DAW is better than that DAW, do you understand how to mix? If you're going to learn how to mix, then learn how to mix in Audacity or a real basic version to understand the basic processors of compression and limiting and, expanding if you needed it, or, just basic operations of mixing. Get on there and ask some groups. What are the most basic operations when I have to get a mix from somebody, or when I'm recording something? What are the most basic, and really look into that. Because you're going to go decide you like this DAW, but you really don't know even how to mix or what the processors do or anything else, and you're not familiar with them, that it ain't really, later on there's a good chance you might change your mind. Maybe not, but maybe, you'd be like, no, I brought Pro Tools, but, I'm going to Personas because it's like, now that I know how to mix, I love the layout, I love the way it looks, it's cool, and, and like the forums, like, all kinds of things. They've got some groups that I like, and does that make sense? But, to understand what the DAW does before when you get Audacity, and start figuring out what the DAW does, and what the compressors do, and what the limiters do, what expanders do, what gates do, what the basic what reverb does, what, basic processors, and basic effects that you would use probably a lot while you're mixing or recording. And, and remember that, when you're mixing or using any of them, that, that if it's a good performance with a good capture that's in time, that, you can really practice your mixes. When you're doing, downloading practice mixes, sometimes you might not get the best quality in those 3 areas. But when you're doing your own stuff or professional grade stuff, that those 3 things take care of most problems when you're in the DAW anyway. And so really understand that and try to do that in those steps, and you'll be happy you did, because when you finally do buy a professional version of one of those DAWs, I'm real happy with Studio One, and I'd say, yeah, buy it, if you're really into it. But, I'm not going to tell you not to do the other things I said, because, I'd be lying to you, and you might, buy Pro Tools and you like the way it might boil down, you like the way the little green light flashes for some, I don't know, I mean, I've heard things like that, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, dude. And it's like, but that sold it. That one little thing was like, I like that, because, when I'm doing this, I like that there. And that sold it. Does that broke the shell, that brought the wallet out. Does that make sense? And it's like, but do that, start out in Audacity, practice with it, understand what the mixing is, what the processors do, what they can do. And while you're messing around on it, dig around about what DAWs do and what the different processors do and the different things different DAWs can do. And then start getting the downloading the trials, dude, and going through and spending the trial time doing some practice mixes. Does that make sense? Interfaces and things like that. Interfaces, most of them do all the same damn thing, but you can get all picky choosy about that if you want also. But if you get a good interface that does what it's supposed to do, that all interfaces do, and find one that's going to have does what you need it to do for the application you're looking for. And if you have to buy a cheaper one when you're starting out, to hook up Audacity or something, you buy a $99 interface, you're good to go to learn about the DAW, to learn about the mixing, to learn about, all those aspects in the processors. Even if they're not expensive ones or they're free ones, you're getting a good understanding of what they do. Does that make sense? And so basically that's it, and that's about pretty simple, and I hope you take those steps, and then I hope that helps you make a decision on what DAW you're going to use, and how to go about figuring out what DAW is going to work for you, and those steps are important before you can make that decision about what DAW is the best for you. Peace, hope, love.